that a lot of alumni have come out and have actually pledged $300,000 so far or more. We are actually in contact with those alumni. They reached out to us when they saw that we were campaigning, and we've been in constant communication with them. And they have their own board that they are forming and want a student advocate on their board. They are the only way that we're going to get this money. I do not have $1 million to pay the Oval sitting in the SGA fund. We need alumni support. And Bo and I do have that direct contact with the alumni. We also have personal relationships with Board of Trustee members, which are the actual overseers of what is going to happen on this campus. I was born and raised in Bristol, and my dad has made a lot of connections throughout his time while living here, and I hope to reach out to them and put a bug in there about what's going on, because they are on campus only twice a year. But keeping them aware of how the students are feeling, what's going on, what their concerns are, will be absolutely crucial in this time.
My question goes to both parties of how do you address student apathy, even in the midst of talking about we are not asleep and things like that. It was kind of an anomaly in the midst of social media campaigns among the campus, because SGA currently has a Facebook page, and Unplugged has a Facebook page, and so many different things across campus have a Facebook page. And so how do you engage students, address apathy, and not just, because I was SGA vice president at one point, so getting students, letting students know the door is always open, and letting students know that they can come to the meetings is probably not going to happen still, unless something else happens, unless there's some sort of engaging after that. So what are your plans to address that and make effective communication between student and your administrations and faculty administration happen?
Lauren.
Speaking to the mic, please.
We plan to do this.
Bo,
Because
talking to the mic, please. Thank you.
I hate mics. Community is a big buzzword, and everybody talks about it every year. People run for president, and every year there's a lot of apathy on campus, and everybody sees that. What we're really going to try to do is make the senators more public figures. We really being here for 3 years. I barely know who my senators are. Up until recently, I had no idea. There's always clubs meeting outside of the lunchroom at those tables. Why aren't our senators ever there for meet and greets? Why aren't they there saying, hey, ask us a question, what are your concerns? I'm your sophomore representative. Are you a sophomore? And obviously the Facebook page and those things, but you have to have that direct contact, face-to-face. You have to go through the dorms if you're a senator and say, hey, listen, I'm so-and-so, and I'm this representative for the junior class. Another thing that we've seen is clubs, especially the smaller ones, are going extinct on campus. We've seen KSI, FCA, those things grow exponentially, but the smaller clubs have not. Some of that has to do with funding initially, but I also think I started a club and I was handed $100 and said start a club. I think there needs to be more direction for club leaders. We need to bring in Dr. J. He runs an extraordinarily successful club. He should come in and talk to people who are trying to start a club and say, hey, here are successful things you can do in budgeting your money, in advertising, and all of those sorts of things. So those are sort of some of our basic ideas, and thank you.
Getting student interest back into the field is one of the primary platforms that we are taking. Starting with Facebook clubs and trying to raise interest there. But when it comes to the social clubs here, I tried to start a film studies group not too long ago, and it didn't really go very well because nobody knew. I definitely agree. We need to get people who know about how to run a successful club, get them in here, show us what to do. A lot of us, we get started, we have no idea what we're doing. When it comes to the SGA, we need to make ourselves more public. I'm in the same boat as Bo, actually. I have been on this campus for 3 years. I have no clue who my representatives are. I only know the president and vice president and maybe the secretary if I'm lucky. So get those names out there, promote them more, make them present. In the end, that's the ultimate part of this. If you speak loud enough and long enough, someone's likely to hear you.
How are y'all going to ensure that the senators will want to be educated and active and want to make themselves a public figure?
That one just kind of goes on the point of, if you have the heart enough to do it, and you have the heart enough of being an SGA center and representing this college, you will want your face to be known. You will want your voice to be heard. And then also it comes down to the point of accountability. Senators leaning on senators. If one of your senators aren't doing something, call them out on it. I'll be honest, I've been called out on a lot of stuff in the past 3 years I've been here. And it just goes back to the point of, your heart for the college. If you want this to grow, or if you want this to go back to where it was, that's up to you.
I think when people rise to the top, leaders naturally rise to the top. And that's, I think, the people who are going to volunteer to run for Senate. While we may have some ideas of who we want to run, I know that there are tons of capable leaders throughout. But we want to ensure that the Senate takes this seriously from now on. They need to be attending every meeting in a professional manner. They need to be holding us accountable. They need to be arguing with us and making sure that what we're doing, that we're responding to them, that there's an active mode of communication, that it's not a one-party side. And we hope to ensure that the Senate is stocked with students who do care and do have your best interests in mind.
Good morning. Come over here so I can see both of you. My name is Hannah Burnett. I'm a senior here at King. I'm so glad you are both here, both of you parties. We appreciate you. I'm very interested in the aspect of community that Lauren and Bo addressed, and I would like to hear more about that. How do you see that? How are you going to make that tangible? Because community, I think, in the church, in our schools, it's a very vague idea that we've somewhat forgotten, and I would love to see it revived, and I would like to hear some tangible ways that you wish to implement that.
I didn't move through it. So yes, community is huge. And we put that word last because I think we wanted it to kind of sum up everything. I was a resident on campus, and then I became a commuter, and there's such a harsh divide between all of us. You know, there's really not a sense of community. And that is something that I wanted in a college experience. I wanted a family. I wanted, it doesn't matter where I lived, I wanted to make sure that I had a group to go to, and it was composed of various parties. So we want to make sure that there is a place for all people to go. The King's Den is a little small, so maybe if we could find a new place to meet or a larger place. But we just want to first ensure that people have a passion for this place. And we want to revive that, initiative to get out there and get involved in our campus. Because hopefully that will draw in all parties, all aspects, whether you're a resident or a commuter. If you care about your campus, you're going to come out and do a campus cleanup. You're going to want to start something. You're going to want to start a club. You're going to want to get involved. And we hope that that together will bring together some unity and community.
Community on this campus is huge. Like, when we first all get here, launch orientation weekend, that's when this community starts. You start getting to know each other. And commuters, I actually got to do a blog once for launch, and it's basically described commuters as we're the outsiders. Because we're not here all the time. Most of the time we're here, we come here, go to class, and go back home. But if we can get our face known, go out there, host more events. Yes, Unplugged is starting to rise again. And yes, the Super Bowl party, that was huge. If we can get more different things going on around campus, hosted by SGA, get our faces known, or just go hang out on the Oval, play Ultimate Frisbee once, have a tournament by SGA. There we go. And just have different little fun things throughout the year, just to be able to grow that community. So when we do graduate and walk across that Oval for the last time, we still keep that community growing for 20, 30, 40 years from now.
All right, my question is for both parties also. Since King is a Presbyterian-based school and based on Christian values, what are both your plans to amp up and energize the students on these Christian values? What are your plans to make more Christian events and just spread those values? Even though like there's been a slum, like as Christians, like we can fall in the slum. How can you amp up Christian events on campus?
One of the reasons I first came to the school is because of the air of faith that was present here. It's just, I stepped on the campus, even growing up with it, again, literally in my backyard, I knew this is where I needed to be. As I look at the different events that happen in terms of chapel or FCA and things like that, we need to go where people are. FCA is growing. We'll put our emphasis there as well. We'll keep bringing in people for chapel, people who have the same passion for God that we want to seek. It's one of the things I value most about this place is how unapologetic it is about its faith. As we move forward, I want to find people who are willing to speak out and say, you know, I'm here because I want to serve. I think as a community with our services, and, all of our CCS work, we can redevelop that. We can find our want to serve and not have it feel mandatory. We just have to understand what it takes to get there. And for me, it takes prayer. And again, community. We come together, we pray together, and then we can serve together.
This is a particularly personal question for me because I became a Christian while I was here at King, and the Christian community has served me very well here. And there are clubs, like we said, that have grown, FCA and those things, but I've also seen other places flounder, especially as a member of the Beekner board, the support on campus. There hasn't been enough advertisement, there hasn't been enough word, there should be excitement. We have some of the best Christian speakers coming here in the country. And whether you're a Christian or not, one of our calls is to make disciples. And when you can have the goal of Beekner, which is faith-engaging culture, you can get to people who aren't Christians yet. And the fact that the Beekner board and Beekner itself isn't very well supported, isn't very well advertised, is a huge issue. I think we really need to step up talking about that, getting that noise out there about what's going on there. But, like I said, this community, especially the Christian community here, has served me incredibly well, and I hope that it continues to grow.
Is this okay? It's really hard to hear if it's on or not. I just want to start out by saying I love you all. Thank you all so much for running. I appreciate it as a student here at King. I know that whoever wins is going to do a wonderful job. But I wanted to ask you guys a question that I'm not sure anyone else has really asked yet. before this whole We're Not Asleep, before the whole rise up to change King, I didn't really know what an SGA president does. Dre did an awesome job stepping up and meeting that challenge, but before that point, I had no idea who he was, partially because I didn't take the step to get informed, but also partially because